has been provided to the Co-Star, the official newspaper of the Borough of Belmar and the Asbury Park Press on December 7, 2017, and notice of this meeting was posted on the posted on the bulletin board of this building.
Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you just remain standing for a few moments to honor our military and their family, and of course recognize President Bush, who had died this past week. Okay, thank you. Council, if you could join me down at the altar dais.
Let's call the whole thing off.
We have a member of the planning board. He is stepping down, so we want to recognize him for his years of work on the planning board. He was the director for many, many years. Probably all know him, Ed Windus. Probably seen him running on the boardwalk. And we knew you were coming, but we don't want to tell anybody, but we're totally prepared. Be careful of this ink, it's still wet, okay? All right. The corner's in there. Here's a resolution from the Borough of Belmar endorsing Ed Windus. Whereas the Borough of Belmar Planning Board has heard hundreds of applications for bulk and use variances, minor and major subdivisions, and site plan applications for residential and commercial properties performing a vital governmental service for the residents of Belmar. And whereas Ed Windus has served as a Class 4 member of the Planning Board for over 20 years. Whereas Ed also served as chairman of the board for most of those years. And whereas Ed has brought many years of experience and knowledge to the board, now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council and all the residents of the Borough of Belmar that Edward Windus be honored for the many years of dedicated service and knowledge he has brought to the Belmar Planning Board.
I'd like to thank the present board members and all past board members for their support throughout the years. And I'd like to thank you, Brian, Mayor Doherty, Mayor Pringle, who first appointed me to the board 20-some years ago. Just a big thank you.
Okay. Now, is there anybody out there whose applications were turned down by Ed in the last 20 years? He's sitting back there in the right-hand corner. I'll come to you later. Okay. He's like, no.
Thank you.
20 years, that's remarkable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it.
Can we get a photo? Can we get a
Photo.
Of course.
Pat, you want to come up and have your...
Yes.
Come on, Pat.
Come on, Pat.
Pat.
That's not Eddie, that's Danny. Come on, Danny. Come on up here.
Kelsey, come on up.
That's not Kelsey.
That's
Oh, my
Kelsey.
goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Come on up. Hey, come on up.
There you go.
Kelsey, I didn't recognize you with the long hair. Wow.
At least we're not getting
Do you still have that medal?
Just the kids.
Remember, or was it
Which one?
looked like a skull?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is that still in
See you later.
Navy? In some reason.
Thank you.
Oh, really? Colleen, do we have someone from the library here?
Yes, we do. Could members of the library board come up for the workshop presentation? Oops, if I turn it on.
Okay.
And we need to actually, like, talk right now.
Okay, I'm pretty loud, so I think I'll be all right. Oh, I see, you're right. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we sound system here, maybe that's next on.
Before you get started, I just want to tell you what a great job the
Oh.
new community theater center that the library is handling is doing, just fabulous, fabulous.
Thank you, and that's on a microphone.
Are you used to talking into a microphone and
I'm
singing?
pretty used to it, but that's one a little fuzzy. Thank you, that's, a lot of what we want to talk about and make sure that we're all on board and we all are communicating as far as the community center goes, because we are so incredibly pleased with our programs and what's been going on there. On behalf of the library trustees, I'm Carrie White, I think I know everybody. This is Johanna Roper Robinson. We're representing the library trustees this evening, and we do thank you for letting us come in and speak for a few moments. Basically, through some workshops and different institutions, we're realizing that the library board is not 100% in compliance with some of our bylaws and state regulations. So we passed a resolution at our last meeting to become compliant with all of this. So we wanted to take time to reach out to you guys to make sure that we can bridge this gap that but we do need to have some representation from the borough at our meetings in order to be compliant. So that's part of, there's so much that we want to do with the library, and it's such a beautiful historic building. We're working right now with a historical architect to revamp the existing space. So according to the bylaws, we should have the mayor or a designee present at the meetings. So that's something we want to start working towards, especially, I know there's been a lot of transition, obviously, over the year and moving into next year. So we want to make sure that we're all on board with that, so that we can make sure that we are doing the right thing financially with the building and with our accounts and everything. Another pressing issue is the community center, and we did want to make sure that you're aware of the programs we are running there. Thank you for recognizing that. We have, yoga, mahjong, all kinds of the evening events, and what's nice is that the makerspace, that's the biggest thing, and that's where we're really trying to get the kids from the elementary school involved in the makerspace at the community center. And it's a space that we can't host at the Belmar Public Library. Obviously, if you've been there, the building's like 1,000,000 years old, and we're working on it. Like I said, we currently have a feasibility study to update the building, and in order to host some of these programs, but we do want to keep a partnership going with the community center in order to keep the makerspace alive, in order to continue to do some of our programs there.
Because we basically outgrew the library space, because the programs have done so well and so many people are involved, we need more room. So that's one of the biggest issues that we're having as far as space.
So we do hope, basically what we want and what we hope for is that we can work together when we start negotiating for that space, and at least, have some sort of communication to make sure, because if we're not going to be able to continue to use that space, then we need to look for some other options, because like we said, some of our programs have just outgrown the space that we have at the moment. So we're hoping that we can kind of have a seat at the table in those negotiations or in those conversations about the existing space. And we just hope to keep those programs alive, and we invite you to come and see them if you haven't already. I know that Councilman McCracken went over and checked out the makerspace, and we had a conversation about that. It's just like a really cool program we're running over there, so I hope to keep it alive.
Colleen, can you tell us what the negotiation is, where we stand right now with the Methodist Church?
Sure. Essentially, we've had conversations with the UMC, with the greater UMC diocese, and in light of the incoming administration, and there's a desire to give some time. So right now, the lease is being extended to at least June 30th of next
wonderful.
year, to give the new administration time to negotiate the longer-term stipulations of that. So, yeah.
That's very positive, thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So you want to sit in on some of the talks
Yeah,
between the borough and the
yeah.
church, because
Mhm.
you're directly...
We are. We've invested a lot of money into the space, and we just want to make sure that if we are going to be able to use that space, that we're able to move some of that equipment somewhere else, or be able to find another space where we can host those programs. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great space, where we love using it, and, you know, I think it's wonderful for our community. I think we all agree on that. I mean, it's a great space. So, yeah, we're just hoping that at least we could be kept in the loop on it, so that if there is an issue, we have enough time to work out some new programs.
Joanna, at the last meeting, you and Sharon had just gotten back from the state library
Correct.
convention, and you brought back some things about how to get Belmar up to, can you tell us something about that?
There's a couple of things that we're not in compliance with.
Can you just talk into the microphone so that...
There's a couple of things that we're not in compliance with.
For people who don't know, Joanna is the daughter of Grace Roper, who was a librarian for Belmar for so many years.
So as far as terms, I know recently, for the past 2 years, it's come up every year that the whole board is reappointed. And basically, it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be, there's 5-year terms. And right now, our board is up for,
You mean staggered terms?
yes, staggered
Yeah,
terms.
absolutely.
Yeah. And right now, we're all, as of 31st, we don't have a board that's appointed, well, definitive, as far as that. So there's a lot of different things that stood out. We did forward some of the information that we got from the New Jersey State Library Board to our present mayor, and also Mr. Walsifer, Mayor Walsifer. So I'm not sure if you received that information. There is a PowerPoint that goes over everything as far as what we need to be in compliance with.
Now, you have a meeting next
We have a
Tuesday,
meeting next Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
So,
One of the things that we need to make sure is that we do have a designee from the mayor's office, either the mayor is to be there or a designated person for the mayor that has to attend each one of the meetings. That's one of the things that we're not in compliance with. And I know with the transition and a lot of different things going on, we really haven't had a representative there for most of this year.
now, what about the funding? That was also another problem you brought up, funding for the library.
funding is basically, the library is supposed to be in charge of their own funding, as opposed to like, it being with the borough. It should be with the borough, but we're supposed to have our own treasurer, our own attorney, a bookkeeper, et cetera. So we're not in compliance as far as that. So that's something that we need to look into. We also, as far as the director of the library, we should have a full-time director. Right now, we don't have that.
How is that different than the librarian?
The library, well, that it would be a librarian that is qualified as far as a librarian that has degrees that we have. Right now, we don't have someone that's degreed as a librarian. She's part-time, you know, so, and basically, having a director, she takes on a lot of the roles that aren't being maintained right now. And then conversations between, like, the mayor and the trustees also.
When you say she, if the director could be a male,
It could
right?
be male, yes.
Yeah, basically, we need to get organized,
Right.
and we are aware of that. We passed a resolution that we want to get organized, and we want to be on board, and we want to be
Sure.
compliant. So that's where, and it's a lot of work, and we know that. And so we're just coming here to make sure that we're bridging any kind of gap we have in communication between the administration of the borough and the library board, so that we can get all of our ducks in a row, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, and we just need to have a lot of the transparency that we right now don't have. So there's a lot of things that come up that we can't answer because we're not knowledgeable of it as a board.
Jen, you have any questions?
No, I'm glad to see that you're on top of it. Between the library and the new community center, I mean, they're both exceptional spaces. And I'm glad that they're being fully utilized. So I'm glad to hear that it goes through June and hopefully beyond that. I'm hoping there's not a problem, but I think the collaboration is important. And I'm glad that you've been aware of it and you're pointing that out. Everything that you just discussed and more, will that be covered at the next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, with more details and.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, at this point,
We
it's kind of
didn't
an
want to forget
ongoing
one thing, yeah.
The
conversation.
public's invited to your
Yes,
meeting.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So the meeting is at 7 o'clock next Monday?
Yes.
7 o'clock.
Downstairs in the library, right?
Yes.
Very good. Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I think our little library does just an amazing job. I attended a program there this past weekend. I'm going to speak about that during my report. And one of the things I noticed was how well attended it was. So whoever's planning those programs really knows how to get the word out. And the other events I've attended there have just been really, really nice. I'm sorry to say I've been in the community center to see how the space is available, but I haven't seen any of the activities going on in there yet, so I'm looking forward to a chance to go over to see that. And I really applaud you and commend you for taking the time and making the effort to find out what needs to be done and then take the steps to get it done. Good for you. Thank you.
Mark?
Oh, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I mean, you guys do a great job, so, you know, whatever it's gonna take to get everything in compliance, you know, we're definitely gonna be on board with that, so I'll be discussing a lot of things with you, and I'll also be at the next meeting.
Okay, great, thanks, Ray.
You will be there? Okay, great. Jim?
Thank you for your commitment to the library and Belmar in general. Just the only question I have is the feasibility study you mentioned to update the building. Has that been completed, or is that a study that's currently underway?
It's currently underway, and it's actually on hold because we need, well, I don't know how we're gonna, it's on hold pending
What's going on
what's
with
going
the
on with the
community
community
center.
center. Because, you know, obviously, if we're not gonna have use of that building, then it might change how we wanna restructure the existing building. So, but yeah, we do have, I mean, we've been spending a lot of meetings talking about this feasibility study. The building needs a little love, obviously, but it's this beautiful historic building, and try to keep that, you know, integrity, but it definitely, we want to utilize the space and utilize the existing space as much as we can. But with that said, the feasibility study is being put on hold until we figure out exactly what's going to be going on with the Data Community Center.
If I could just ask,
Mhm.
we don't have to wait till June to find out if they're going to continue to be.
No, I mean, that really 6 months was just to give a little bit of time. I can tell you that the meeting that we had with UMC Church was very positive, very productive. We're very happy with how vibrant that space is and the amount of programming that's coming on. But, you know, the intent when we entered into the lease was to acknowledge that this was a phenomenal community resource that we didn't want to lose. You know, we didn't want to lose our food bank, we didn't want to lose our clothes closet. That was kind of the impetus of it. But then it was to say, you know, this is, you know, a place where our residents should be able to go and recreate. And, you know, I particularly, I love and I'm proud of what we've done there because it's chock full of exercise classes, meditation classes, card groups, AA meetings. You know, it's hard pressed right now to find time to find a slot. So it really is wonderful. It's been a great partnership with the library and our recreation program. And I think they see the UMC sees the benefit of that too, because we're keeping it alive in the community. So again, we don't have to wait until June to find out, but it was just kind of like